Hello, welcome to today's webinar, using 5S to build safer workplaces. My name is Shirley Paulson and I'm your technical host. Thank you for joining us. To adjust your audio settings, click the microphone at the bottom left of your screen, over here. Then click the up arrow to select audio controls. Although your microphone is muted, you can ask questions at any time using the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen, right here. Please use the comments section to chat with the attendees, share your thoughts, and please let us know where you're from. Our presenter will respond to as many questions as he can during today's session. Our moderator today is Wayne Aranda, COO of the Manufacturing Safety Alliance of BC. Welcome, Wayne.
Thanks, Shirley, and welcome, everyone. I'm joining you from the Fraser Valley office of the Manufacturing Safety Alliance of BC, located in Chilliwack on the traditional and unceded territories of the Stolo Coast Salish people. I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak to you from these shared lands today. The Manufacturing Safety Alliance is a not-for-profit health and safety association for manufacturers and food processors throughout British Columbia. Our team of health and safety experts is here to answer your questions and to assist you towards CORE certification, the Occupational Safety Standard of Excellence for Manufacturing, or known as OSCE. We are here to support the continuous improvement of your health and safety programs to prevent injuries and promote workplace wellness. Call us anytime for health and safety training information, tools, or advice. In today's webinar, using 5S to build safer workplaces, we will be learning more about how we can use 5S and lean manufacturing to create safer, healthier, and productive work businesses. Developed in Japan, now practiced around the world, lean manufacturing is a methodology and umbrella term which includes 5S to maximize productivity while minimizing waste. But what is 5S? What are the benefits? And where does safety fit into it? Bruce Ennis, from our associate member, the Manufacturing Export Enhancement Cluster, is joining us today to help answer these questions and more. Bruce is a certified Lean Six Sigma Black Belt Master and senior member of the American Society for Quality. He has created lean programs that have dramatically improved the speed, quality, and profitability of numerous businesses from a wide variety of sectors, including aeronautics, manufacturing, petroleum, administration, and even professional sports management. Before I pass the floor over to Bruce, remember, you can ask questions using the Q&A icon at any time during the session. Good afternoon and welcome, Bruce.
Hi, Wayne. Thank you for that introduction. Assuming everyone can see the screen now, today I'm going to speak to you about 5S and how it can contribute to building a safer workplace. As Wayne mentioned, just a little background. I have spent my entire career in the field of quality. I'm 60 years old, and my entire career has been working in the field of quality for 35 years. And the past 25 years, since the early, well, about 23 years, I guess, in the field of Lean and Six Sigma. I've worked throughout the United States and Canada building Lean and 5S programs with small and large organizations as large as multinationals and organizations as small as a mom and pop 5-person business. So I've got a lot of experience with 5S and how to build and sustain a successful 5S program that will make your workplace more productive, but just as importantly, safer and more enjoyable to work at. So let's get started. So what is 5S? Well, it's a cleaning and organizing program. It started at Toyota, and now it's practiced worldwide. A recent estimate that I read was 90% of Fortune 500 companies are practicing lean and or 5S in parts or all of their business. So this isn't a flavor of the month program of the MSABC or the Me clusters or anyone else. It's been inculcated throughout the world. I guess I still haven't answered the question, what is 5S? Well, it's a program that improves the productivity of a business, the quality, it improves employee morale, the mental health of the employees, and of course, safety. When you see 5S, you know it. I don't know how many people on this call right now know nothing about 5S, but it's a cleaning and organizing program. And you may have walked into businesses before that you didn't realize we're practicing 5S. All you knew was, holy smokes, is this place ever clean and organized? When you see 5S, you know it. Everything is organized in a 5S business. Nothing is a struggle. The iceberg analogy for 5S, for those of you that don't know, there's an interesting phenomenon about an iceberg. For however massive that mountain of ice is in the ocean, roughly 90% of an iceberg's totality is beneath the surface. And in my career, I think that's a terrific analogy for 5S. When I walk into a business, or think for yourself about when you've walked into a business and you've observed that that business is cluttered and messy. Well, we know more than just that this business is cluttered and messy. We know that it's a business that probably has a lot of near-miss incidences. Slips and trips and accidents, and even injuries, mental fatigue, frustration, and a slower, more sluggish business. So why is 5S so important? Because first impressions matter. Second reason, if you implement 5S, the productivity of your business will improve dramatically. And in my career, I've had some cynical CEOs thinking, how do you get more productive just by cleaning and organizing? But that number is a conservative estimate in my career. I've seen larger improvements just from implementing 5S. The third reason is implementing 5S will reduce the fatigue of your employees. It'll actually improve the mental health. And of course, it'll improve safety. So what a terrific program that it's officially recognized as a cleaning and organizing program. But I don't know of any other programs that improve employee morale, mental well-being, etc. Let's take a look in detail at each of those reasons. First one was first impressions matter. Think of your own business where you work at today, and think of when you've recruited employees and you've really hoped some talented individual is going to join your team. What goes through their mind when they walk through the front door, or you open up your shipping and receiving doors and they come in through the back? What's their first impression? Similarly, what is your first impression when you walk through a business? I challenge everybody on this call right now to think of a business that they believe is world-class. Just an amazing business that you've always been impressed with. And then ask yourself this question: is that business clean or dirty? When you walk into a business and you see this, what do you think of? Versus this. This. Or this. Again, this, which might have been one of the messiest clients I ever had prior to implementing 5S. It looked like there had been vandals that had attacked the building before implementing 5S. Or this. Even office areas. Or this. What goes through your mind when you see this? You might not even be conscious of it. It may be a subconscious opinion of it. The analogy I make when I teach 5S is, think of when if you have a child or a daughter or a son that brings a friend home, or a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and maybe that person isn't dressed the way you think, or maybe that person curses. The very first moment you meet someone, or the very first time you walk through the doors of a business, you form an impression, and it often lasts for the rest of your life. If you go into a restaurant that you heard good things about, but a bug crawls across the floor, you'll probably never think of that restaurant in a high regard anymore. Tools in a toolbox. These are 5S organizations versus this. Or this. So that's the very first reason. First impressions matter. 5S is a program that will improve the safety of an organization, but here's some hidden benefits. You'll probably get more business. The first impression of your organization will be dramatically improved by implementing 5S. Let's go on to the second reason, an improvement in productivity. I mentioned about 3 or 4 slides ago that productivity will go up 25 to 50%. If you're a safety person hoping to convince leadership of the benefits of 5S just for workplace morale, mental health, enjoying coming to work more, what a terrific way to sell on the benefits to senior leadership, who often are primarily interested in profitability. And organizations I've worked with have seen numbers larger than this, which leads me to conclude that maybe I'm working with organizations that are a little bit messier than the average. But if you study 5S, if you study lean, this is commonly cited in literature and empirical studies of the improvement results going from a cluttered, disheveled workplace to a fastidiously organized workplace. When you implement 5S, there's less time spent searching, struggling, looking for parts, looking for tools. Sometimes you know where something is, but you gotta find the forklift to move something out of the way to get what you need. These are all symptoms of an organization that hasn't embraced 5S. And sometimes it's just walking long distances because of a disheveled workplace. Things are not in their home. So the pallet jack that should be a couple feet away is out in the yard because someone never returned it. Part of 5S's culture, they have a saying, a place for everything and everything in its place. So this is why productivity improvements can be as high as 50%, because people don't realize until they practice the discipline of lean how many hours in a workday where workers are trying to work, they're not lazy, but they're struggling to find the tape gun, they're struggling to find the pallet jack, or even it's the work instructions that are normally on this clipboard, but somebody took them and never put them back in their home. 5S promotes a phenomena that I call instant understanding. If your organization after today, or perhaps you're already considering implementing 5S, much of the struggle of your workday goes away. Perhaps you implement a standard program where every green folder in your warehouse is for MSDSs, or perhaps it's a safety folder. And maybe every blue folder is accounts payable. It can be whatever you want. But when I said at the start, when you see 5S, you know it. When I was hired by Boeing to work in their factory in South Carolina, they were heavily into 5S. And I didn't realize it until I spent a few months there, how life is so much easier that really quickly I learned that if a beam was painted a certain color, that meant that that was where a trash bin was. There was signage. Everything was instantly understandable. Whereas in most businesses, when you're new, you have to find someone. Hey, can someone tell me where the washroom is? Hey, does anyone know where I dispose of this coffee cup, et cetera, et cetera. More examples of nobody has to tell me what is the required inventory level for this piece of material. This business embraced 5S and lean and created a culture of instant understanding. When you see red, the person that manufactures that raw material takes that skid away and replaces it with a full inventory. They formerly used to count thousands of things every single day, which is a large source of lower productivity because errors were made constantly. Some of you may have seen this before. This is called a 2-bin Kanban. Imagine in your business where you keep nuts and bolts. In this system developed by the Japanese, you keep some of your about 70% on the blue side and 30% on the orange side, depending on how far away your supplier is. But if it's a critical raw material or a nut or bolt or screw, if I take imagine a wall with 500 of those and all you see is blue. If I go to take a screw out of that side and I take the last one, I simply pull that tray out, flip it to the other side, and grab whatever remainder I need on the orange side. But I've sent an instant understanding cue to a person in the organization that we need to order more. So these are things that are implemented in a 5S culture. Some of you may have seen shadow boards on the right-hand side. In non-5S cultures, oftentimes all of these tools are jammed into a drawer. Sometimes they're in the cabinet of a work truck. And when I've job shadowed businesses, I've spent sometimes hours driving to a work site only to find that the mallet that was supposed to be there, the level, the wrenches aren't there, and they got to drive to a Home Depot to buy it or drive back to the shop. The culture of instant understanding. You immediately know on the left-hand side if a screwdriver is missing or any critical tool. It can be with drill bits. There's also a second concept called poki-yoke, which is a Japanese word meaning mistake proofing, where there's color coding and you immediately know where everything goes. Everything has a home. Shelf identification. This organization had chronic counting errors. Now everything is stacked in tens. There's labeling. They really embrace this culture. So absolutely everything is labeled and making the work much less of a struggle and much more enjoyable. Everything has a home. When I first was trained in 5S many years ago, I confessed to companies that I thought it's a little bit nerdy. I thought this is a little bit over the top. And then I worked at a place like that. I thought, really, do I really need to tape off an area and say, this is where the ladder goes? And then about 6 months later, it was an emphatic yes. Life is so much easier when everything is organized. Can you imagine if in your own house, every single day, the coffee maker was in a different location, downstairs yesterday and upstairs today? That's what a workplace is like when there's no 5S program. People will leave a power cord somewhere, a pallet jack, and then you spend a good chunk of your 8-hour day struggling to find what you need. I don't know if you can see the resolution of your camera, but even on the scissor jack on the left-hand side, this organization, you can see an F2. And what that means is if this was a fairly large business, if that pallet jack was left in the yard or in the shipping area or in the receiving area, nobody would have to walk around and go, does anybody know whose scissor jack this is? The F means fabrication. So they have a language. Everything is identified. Fabrication, scissor jack number 2. And so all items are labeled. And when the daily cleaning and organizing occurs, everything has a home. Might sound a little bit over the top until you work at a place like this and you really love it. Here's a tool board or a critical supplies board. And same thing, if you look at that power cord, there's a P on it, which means the print room. This organization said sometimes they would wander around for 20 minutes and find 15 power cords over in the shipping area, but none in the print area. Shovels, brooms, everything. So note on the shovel there, the P, that's part of what 5S does. It creates a home and an organization system for your business. There are no unanswered questions. Instant understanding. Even name tags. So these are businesses I've worked with where there's pictures. If you walk up to someone, everybody knows what your name is. It's a really nice, welcoming environment. That's not the case with most companies, though. I would say it's the, instead of instant understanding, I would call most businesses instant misunderstanding or instant confusion. Uncertainty. If I work in this area, do I have enough stuff? Are we going to run out? Did someone order more? I don't know. And maybe when the supervisor comes back in half an hour, I can ask him, but I really don't. Maybe it'll be too late. Maybe we'll have a downtime or a customer will have to wait longer because this business has many, many unanswered questions. When you have unanswered questions, it leads to mental fatigue. And that leads me to the third benefit of 5S. 5S will reduce fatigue. I'm going to do a little experiment on everybody. Right now, I'm going to ask a simple question and you answer to yourself. You don't have to text me a response. But a bat and a ball costs $1.10. The bat costs $1 more than the ball. So how much does the ball cost? Well, that's obvious. It's 10 cents. Or maybe it's not. In a study done at Princeton, almost everybody says 10 cents. This is very, very basic math. I told you the bat and the ball was $1.10 total, and the bat costs $1 more than the ball. So if the total's $1.10, the ball has to be 5 cents. But I'm betting there's not many amongst you that said 5 cents. The reason for that is humans are wired to choose the easy way. Cognitive effort, even basic math, that was pretty simple math, but studies have shown we just don't really even want to do basic simple math. What does that have to do with 5S? Actually, everything. There's a gentleman named Daniel Kahneman who won a Nobel Prize for his research. He had his doctorate in psychology and was awarded a prize for his work in behavioral economics. And what Daniel Kahneman discovered is that when humans are under stress, when they're busy and juggling lots of balls, and I've probably described your workplace, everybody's workplace. He decided, how do we make decisions when we're juggling balls and we have lots on our mind? Daniel Kahneman learned that there's essentially a system 1 and system 2 in the brain. System 1 is autopilot. It's that answer that you gave me. Well, it's 10 cents. It's if I see red, if I'm driving my car and I see a red light, instant understanding is stop. That's system 1. System 2 is when I have to think, even if it's not a complicated problem. But if I come into work and I go, where's my pen? My pen was here a minute ago. Betty was here. Betty, did you take my pen? Where's my stapler? Where's the folder? Daniel Kahneman studied this, and he learned that thinking is tiring. Looking, searching, struggling, trying to find your tools, etc., is like doing push-ups all day. Struggling is tiring and stress-inducing. Autopilot is much easier. So do you see the connection now? I showed you messy workplaces. There is no instant understanding. You see fastidiously clean, organized places with tool boards and everything having a home. Now you can use autopilot. Your brain is not doing push-ups all day. 5S facilitates autopilot. You want further proof? Well, I'll give you a minute to read this paragraph. I'll read it. I couldn't believe that I could actually understand what I was reading. Using the incredible power of the human mind, according to research at Cambridge University, it doesn't matter in what order the letters in a word are. The only important thing is that the first and the last letter be in the right place. The rest can be a total mess, and you can still read it without a problem. This is because the human mind does not read every letter by itself, but the whole word as a whole. Amazing, huh? Yeah, and I always thought spelling was important. See if your friends can read this too. This is part of Daniel Kahneman's study. This was a bit of a mind-blown moment when we learned that we really don't read when we think we read. Our brain sees pictures. So if I see the word human, I really just see the word H and N, and it's kind of a picture, and I know that that's the word human. And so that's part of that instant understanding. If your workplace today is messy and dirty, you're doing push-ups all day. You're struggling, often going home tired and irritable, just because you're of this phenomenon. Your brain is not in autopilot. It's using system 2, the push-ups part of your brain, not the autopilot. "5S improves mental health. A clean and organized workplace results in less of a struggle. less clutter. Everything you do is easier. It's a less stressful workplace. Employees are happier. There's fewer resumes on the street. I can think I'm pretty old. I'm 60 years old. And in my career, I've worked for ridiculously messy places, and I've worked for ridiculously clean places. And I've left jobs because of the depression I felt working in a disheveled, cluttered, congested work area. Higher productivity, of course, and higher workplace morale. Now the last reason, and I guess the most important reason, this is the MSABC, Safety Organization. To me, this is intuitive. Obviously, if you work in a very clean place, there's just less accidents. There's less slip hazards, trip hazards, congestion hazards. These are all pictures of companies that I was hired to help clean up. I jokingly call it witness protection program. In any of the pictures where you might see a company logo, I've graded out or I've eliminated it, not to make sure not to embarrass any organization. But I often tell them that it should be a badge of honor because they're mostly incredibly clean now. So the 5 S's: sort, set in order, shine, standardize, and sustain. Now, I'm betting there's probably a few people on this call who are 5S experts or have trained 5S. And maybe someday over a coffee, we can chat about this. But having done this for a long time, I'm not a big fan of these 5 words. One of the problems with trying to change a culture in any way, safety program, anything, any kind of program, is making it too much like a religion, making it too formal. I don't really like those 5 words. Really what 5S is, to those of you that are brand new to it, here's what the 5 S's are. Well, sort is actually really just means get rid of your junk. If you decide we want to get into 5S, the very first thing you do is go through everything, the drawers in your desk, the toolboxes, the cabinets, the paint cabinets, everything, and go through things that you don't need. And I say throw it out, but it isn't always throw it out. It might be repurpose it. It might be donate it to charity. If it's an old computer, an old table, you could have a silent auction to raise money for your social club, but basically get rid of the stuff that you're not using. The second step of 5S is, now that you've got rid of your junk, think for a while about how organized your work area is. Does somebody walk 25 times a day to the one photocopier? And maybe should we put a photocopier in a central area, or maybe buy another one if they're $1,000? But it's reorganizing, so we're reducing or even eliminating the struggle of our workers. Maybe building a cellular design, so everything I need in my workday is very close by. I had the luxury of going to Japan and on a lean study mission, and I studied Toyota, and it blew me away as I was in the largest car factory in the world. I think there was about 7,000 people in this building, and nobody struggled. It was very clean and bright. Morale was high. Nobody was running. The work was moving quickly. The employees were not. And everybody had everything they need. Either a tool was hanging right above them or it was on their hip. But when I work with businesses in North America and I just observe, it might be from the second level of a large distribution center, you just see struggle everywhere. Someone trying to find a ladder, somebody trying to find a boss. It's interesting, when you spend your career in lean and 5S, I jokingly say, I see waste the way that little Haley Joel Osment said, I see dead people in The Sixth Sense. Oftentimes, Western style managers think that if everybody in their factory is running their butts off, that's work. and it's not. It's often just struggle. Sometimes very little work is happening. So the second part of 5S is organizing, reducing the struggle of your employees. They don't have to walk long distance or climb over things to get at what they need. The third S, which officially is shine, basically means clean every day. Just like there's no exceptions. You lock the doors when you leave your business at the end of a workday. In a 5S organization, there's no exceptions. We clean and return everything to their home before we leave. It doesn't matter. You don't say, well, it's crazy. Our summer months are busy, so we'll start 5S'ing in the fall. It's like saying I'll go on a diet when I'm not hungry. You have to have the discipline and rigor to clean every single day. The fourth S, which is standardize, that just means consistency. If you have 2 shifts and the gentleman on night shift has never been a very clean person. His car is messy, his house is messy, and his work area is messy. The fourth S just means standardizing. That on any day I could come into your business and it's consistently clean. It doesn't matter which area of your business or which shift. We've built standards, check sheets, etc., to make sure there's consistency. And the fifth S is sustain. And all that means is it's management. We're going to support our employees. If they say that, okay, you want us to do 5S, I need a trash bin over here. I need a dustpan. We need 15 minutes a day, and you're always going to support me. So that's basically what the 5S's are. 5S is ridiculously easy. I have a master certification in Lean and Six Sigma, and there's a lot of training I've had in my career that's pretty darn complicated, heavy math, etc. 5S, I think one of the reasons it's so successful is that it's so freaking easy. It's very, very simple. It can be taught very quickly. So that's a good segue into this. Launching a 5S program. There are a number of ways you can do it. I'm an employee of the Me Cluster. Here's a program that we have right now. Roughly, I say 2 days with a grain of salt, depending on the size of a business. But you always start with teaching 5S to an entire organization. That can usually be done in 1 day. The 5S training is about 3 to 4 hours. It's super simple. And then usually the afternoon and the second day is helping to build the infrastructure. So launching a 5S program is, again, teaching a 5S to everybody and then helping you to form a team. Usually representation from each department. Maybe it's fabrication, assembly, office administration. And that reminds me, I probably haven't spoken enough about 5S is just as important and just as impactful in administrative areas. And I've been hired by organizations, banks, etc., just to help organize. Organizing your filing cabinet, organizing your inbox. Your inbox in your computer should be emptied every single day. That creates a stress on you. Opening up your email and having 700 messages causes a stress, creates a burden, actually affects your mental health. So apologize, I should have mentioned this earlier. 5S is just as applicable in office and administrative areas. So part 2, form a 5S team. Identify the work zones. And again, the Me Cluster can work with you. We have templates to save you many, many hours building your cleaning checklists, etc. But I'm really just trying to underscore how simple it is. Plan your red tag event. The red tag event is the activity in phase 1. Remember I said phase 1 is getting rid of all your junk. It's called the red tag event. Build your checklists. This is one of my clients that's allowed me to show their checklist, but this is why they're so successful. You can see the granularity, that there's accountability, day shift, night shift, the leader of the 5S team on day shift and on night shift. There's pictures of what you're supposed to do, and that kind of accountability is critical in building lean success. The Me Cluster has a program called the Lean Accelerator program. It involves an industry assessment. This is the picture on the right is a technical report created by the Me cluster that assesses your business. An expert in process improvement, and sometimes it can be on technology 4.0, we have more than one expert, can walk through your business and will provide a very useful, functional, non-bureaucratic, boots on the ground recommendations on short-term, medium-term, and long-term improvement opportunities. I've been doing this for many years prior to joining the Me cluster, but it's if some of you who are experienced with Lean or 5S, you've heard of Gemba walks, but it's basically not sitting in an office and brainstorming how to make a business better. It's going in the trenches and maybe walking in a yard when it's minus 30 and feeling the pain of a welder that has to weld out in the cold, or work with an office employee that has to work through a filing system that's incredibly frustrating. So this is called an industry assessment, and the Me cluster offers this. If you're interested in either deploying 5S or having an industry assessment, you can log on to the Me cluster webpage, which is at the bottom there. David Rist is the director of the Me cluster, and that's his email address. And so that's it. I'll show that slide again in a second, so don't worry, I'll put that right back up. I'm just going to recap. The benefits of 5S is it's really inexpensive. As far as corporate deployment initiatives, I don't know if there's too many things less expensive than a 5S deployment. And so there's a big bang for your buck. It's expensive, inexpensive, and there's a huge payoff in productivity, the speed of your business, quality, first impressions, the happiness of your employees, job satisfaction, mental health, the morale, and of course, safety. And that's the end of my presentation. Wayne, I'm not sure if anyone, or Shirley, if there's anyone that has any questions, but I would love to answer some questions.
Well, thank you very much, Bruce, for your insights, and for our manufacturing and food process members. These are some important tools for building a world-class health and safety programs. Having myself implemented many 5S programs and Lean strategies over the years, I mean, Bruce, this really hits home on how simple, how inexpensive it really can be. And again, I really appreciate you sharing some of your thoughts here today. It's just the beginning, but it's a really good overview of 5S and what it can do for an organization.
Great.
Just as a reminder, thank you. Just as a reminder to our audience, if you have any questions for Bruce, please submit through the Q&A, and we will address as many of these as we can before our time is up. And I wanted to mention, Bruce, I guess when one's partner or spouse sends you to the grocery store with a grocery list with pictures, it wasn't to be sarcastic. It was really just a version of 5S, right?
Yeah, that's funny. I have some stories about I'm wired for efficiency. I even clean my office before I finish every single day. I clean, I have Windex and my office is clean. And my wife one time said she wanted to shop, and she described a very painful day that was about 6 or 7 stores. And I told her, I said, Di, I just phoned. We don't need to go to the Bay. We don't need to go to this store. The one store you wanted to look at, they're going to hold. And she said, Bruce, not everything is a Lean 5S event. Sometimes I just want to mosey. So yeah, you have to know when to turn it off, I guess.
Perfect. Yeah, I agree. Well, we do have some questions, and I know we are limited for time here. So I'll get these to you right away, Bruce. So first question we've got here, what do you think are some of the challenges that companies might face when trying to implement and establish 5S and safety?
I would say that's a great question. And from my experience, the biggest failure opportunity for 5S is that leadership isn't totally on board. You have some leaders that think they can outsource it. We got someone on the factory floor that started last week. He seems like a keener. Let's hire him. 5S, like anything, will never succeed when the leadership isn't totally on board. Again, my car is clean. My workplace is clean. Before I ever learned about what 5S was when I was younger, when I was 20 years old, making minimum wage and driving an old car, that car was still clean. So it has to be the passion of the senior leadership, the CEO. And those pictures that I showed in this presentation, the ones that you were probably very impressed with, every one of those, the CEO was totally on board with that. And because of time constraints, I can't go into a lot of details, but there were organizations where the CEO said, let's install an alarm or music. And at this time every day, all of us start cleaning. And so when you go, wow, that place is impressive, it's because the CEO bought in. So anyone that's listening that goes, man, that's really cool, I would say don't even start unless you can get your senior leadership on board.
It's a great comment. I mean, I think that goes for pretty much any program, right? We've got to have commitment from leadership. I spend most of my time getting commitment on safety programs from leadership, and I think 5S absolutely has to come from a leadership position. So thanks for that.
Yeah.
Another question for you. What are some of the lessons learned from implementation that would be important?
Lesson. Oh, here's a good, I think it's a good one. You can be the judge of that. So leadership engagement is huge, but I would say another common failure, I take risk analysis. They call it failure modes. What are ways things can fail? Another way is, I don't want to use the word laziness, but companies will say, we're going to start 5S, and then the check sheets that they create are all the same. They say, did you sweep the floor? Did you wipe the counter? And it's blah, blah, blah. The ones I showed a check sheet from an organization that was an oil and gas company, and that was very messy before, but you could see pictures. This area, here's what it should look like afterwards. So I would say, Wayne, another tip would be attention to detail. And that's one excellent part of that 2-day Me Cluster program is I'm a great sharer. I've collected a lot of great templates from organizations, and I've shared a lot of my templates. And if the Me Cluster does partner with you, there's a lot of that work is done already, but you have to be very granular and thorough. So I call it having area specific cleaning checklists would be another one that comes to my mind.
Yeah, again, it's having walked through a number of our members' plants, those that have those, again, those pictures tells 1,000 words. It's a great way to lead somebody to what is the acceptable outcome. So great tip.
Yeah, actually, I see on the board here, Clint Mathias says pictures. That's 100%. You see in warehouses, Toyota does this as well as a lot of the factories in the US that I've been to, and they'll have a picture of a work area and says, this is what clean is. And then oftentimes it'll be, and Mike Smith is in charge of this area. So yeah, that's a great suggestion as well.
Assigning responsibility. Exactly.
Yes, exactly. Accountability.
Yeah, you bet. Another question here. How do you implement this type of program in a food processing facility where the floors are always wet, product is dropped on the floor, and the production schedules need to be met? Usually employees leave the line to clean until they finish their task. So, not a kind of a clean as you go, but more of a, okay, now I'm done because I got to meet the outcome of today's production requirements. And now we've got a giant mess everywhere.
So answering that question, I haven't worked in your facility, whoever asked that question, but it's collaborating with you and making it work for your organization. Remember I said at the start, I'm not a big fan of the official 5S words because sometimes people take it so literally. I would assume that if I partnered with your business, you know better than me, we would modify the program to work for your industry. But I also heard in that question a little bit of, we're a little bit different. And if I had 10 cents for every time someone said to me, Bruce, what you taught is awesome, but I got to tell you, we're a little bit different. Every process is different, and you could still get your, what was it, a food and processing industry, you could get it ridiculously clean And but I would not be as arrogant as to tell you I know the answer to how to do it before I even worked with you. I believe in doing things with people and not to them. So I don't have the answer unless I came to your facility and worked with you.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's I call it the attack of the yeah buts. You know, everybody's got a yeah but, right? But we got to attack those and get rid of those because again, unique for sure, but we want to make sure that we can move forward and implement a good, strong 5S program. So good. Thanks for that again. Another question here. Any tips on how to get the staff to be on board and sustain 5S? This seems to be the hardest part. It's a great question.
Yes. Well, so I do have a tip, and maybe this comes with getting older and edit function is turned off and you worry less about things, but you almost have to have a real hard, honest talk with the CEO. Usually when I meet with a business, say it's the maintenance manager of a company and they say, man, we got to do this. I always say, let me meet with the owner of the company. Sometimes it's just going for lunch, but or having a coffee with them. But you have to get them on board. And what I encourage, the cleanest pictures you saw, I encourage, if you do performance appraisals, that 5S needs to be a part. How orderly and how clean and hygienic and how enthusiastically your department embraces this methodology developed by Toyota should be part of your annual performance appraisal. I feel, and so whether that's, and I've worked with companies who have literally promoted people because how they transformed their department, improved morale, improved productivity by really embracing 5S, and they were promoted. So there's a lot of different ways, but I always talk to leaders and say, you can't talk out of both sides of your mouth. You can't tell me that 5S and organization really matters to you, but no, we've never really sat down and rewarded anyone for their for being passionate about it. No, we've never really had a serious talk about people that are oblivious or even disrespectful towards it. You see a recurring theme, Wayne, it often, the human side, I don't think anyone's ever said to me, Bruce, this methodology is just dumb. It just doesn't work. Everybody goes, yeah, I would love to work in a place like that. It's the human side.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, I think the whole side of it is that without leadership buy-in, and I think you tackle a great one, performance management here, you know, in our organization, we're a health and safety company, and we have health and safety goals, personal goals, part of our performance management. We want to promote health and safety. So again, I think it can be easily added to a performance management. If it's important, it's, you know, it's part of your DNA, right?
Yeah.
So,
you know, Wayne, I'll just say one last thing. One organization I worked with that was in some of those very, very clean pictures, they had a department full of naysayers. Kind of, you know, don't be walking on my grass. We don't need you around here. And after about 6 months, they became the most ardent supporters of the program. And they a couple of the pictures was their work area. They were the blue collar guys that, you know, don't you touch my toolbox. I know where everything is. And once they saw the benefits of it, there's no way they would ever want to stop. You don't dare cease the 5S program.
Yeah, I mean, I could go into, you know, Kaizen, you know, moments where, you know, again, it's the people on the floor. They got to be an active part of that solution. They know the workarounds. They know what they've been doing to make things work. So to a comment that was just on the screen, yeah, absolutely. You've got to include the, you know, everybody that works in those cells. I got a quick couple more here. Moran Bagri says, one thing that I like to add is 5S doesn't need to be a big investment. So true. Be creative. So what is the time and resource commitment to implement 5S? And again, that I think.
Yeah, that's a great question. That's one of the reasons I'm such a big fan of 5S. I don't really have any skin in the game. I'm trained in a lot of methodologies. 5S probably is the biggest bang for your buck because it costs next to nothing. I've worked with businesses that say we've got capital approval request for some automation that's $2 million. Or I think 5S is forming a team and buying some trash bins and a labeling machine, some cleaning supplies, signage, it might be $5,000-$10,000 at the start. But then I guess the only cost, Wayne, after that is time. And on average, it's 15 minutes a day. But once you get ridiculously clean, it's really only about 5 minutes a day. It's like weeding your yard, and you have a lawn that looks like the Masters. Weeding takes 1 minute because there's no weeds. But 15 minutes a day in an 8-hour workday, that's 8 times 6 is 480 minutes minus lunch, is about 3%. So I guess I would say to the CEO, the really substantial cost is 3% of productivity in a workday, 15 minutes a day.
Yeah, absolutely. It really is not a lot, and especially if everybody's collectively doing it together. So yeah, great point. All right. I think we're going to have to stop here. I know that we had a few more questions, quite a few more questions, but just for the interest of time, I want to thank you again, Bruce, for sharing your insights and thoughts with us today. I mean, it's been really great. I think it's a first step in just understanding and getting some basic information, lots more to come. So to everyone in our audience, thank you for joining us today and sharing your questions. If we didn't get to your question, we'll do our best to respond. We'll get them over to Bruce, where we can perhaps get those answers and send them back to those on the panel today. Bruce, again, just thank you for joining us. And yeah, it was a great session. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Wayne. And thank you for having me, MSABC. I really appreciate it.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay.
So speaking of world-class, this fall, we will make it at Make It Safe Vancouver and online. We will be bringing in speakers and presenters to talk about world-class health and safety programs that are here, right here in BC and across Canada and really around the world. This is a great opportunity to get your annual training hours for your CRSP and also learn from some of the best in OHS. We'll be sharing more details and opening registration soon, but save the dates for now. October 13th, 2023, Make It Safe Vancouver. That's our in-person event, and October 26th and 27th for Make It Safe online. Visit us anytime for help or to access our full library of webinars and resources and training. Watch us for an email tomorrow with a link to the recording of today's session and a survey link to share your feedback for topic ideas. And again, thank you for attending today. We really appreciate the opportunity to share these types of informational webinars with all of our membership and beyond. And again, thank you for taking time out of your day to join us.